and listeners, here we are, a lovely podcast lined up for you today with a larger-than-life character. The first I'm talking about is Emma Murray, who's the CEO and founder of Meantime. And what I've got to ask you straight away, Emma, there's no pun intended in the name of the company, but how did you come to that name?
Well, first of all, good question. For our American listeners, I'm not mean to my customers. I'm just Greenwich based. And when we were first setting up the company, we thought it would be fantastic to relate it to Greenwich Mean Time. And then we were quite successful quite quickly, and it was too late to change the name. But I do spend a lot of time, especially in the States and Asia, starting conversations with, we're not mean to our customers. It's Greenwich Mean Time.
There you go. Lovely story, and a great ending. Now, listen, Emma, the reason I'm so pleased, we've known each other a long time, but one of the things I started to do recently, I say recently, probably since COVID, I started looking at what people do when they're at conferences and how hard they work, or are they they're just on a freebie and yakking about nothing. But I've got to say, I've got hats off to you. You really put the time in.
Yeah. Conferences are for me like something that I love anyway, because it's about networking. But as our client base has grown, we have usually multiple customers at our conference, and they're interested in networking with the multiple members of the media there. And that means that we have to put them together. And even though we have put a lot of effort into making sure those timings are correct and they have meetings, it's still a case of making sure they actually connect on the day. It's also a case of connecting with the industry, learning about the industry. It means that I'm on top of things, and I make connections as well. And it's my happy place, I think. So I probably put in more than most people, but I enjoy it.
And it comes across, Emma, definitely. And the other thing that should I say I'm surprised? I shouldn't say I'm surprised, but I was hugely impressed with your onstage presence. So when you were doing the Seahorse conference, the journalist conference, you had me in stitches, and I think some of it went over a few people's heads, but you had me in stitches on the stage.
Okay, well, I'm very passionate about lots of things, the industry, my business, my customers' business, but I'm very, very passionate about next gen and also excellence in journalism. I'm a journalist by training, and you can take the girl out of that, but you know how that goes. I'm really supportive of good, great, independent journalism. And so Seahorse is one of my passions. It's an ancient club from the 60s that supports journalists in the industry, and tries to encourage young people to join and showcase excellence and therefore stay. So it's easy for me to take to the stage as chairman and be enthusiastic and maybe a little bit cheeky at times with the audience, because I'm confident that it's for a good cause. And I'm also very comfortable after 20-something years in this industry that I have people on my side who want the same. So I'm not afraid of standing up on the stage and helping them to join in on their mission.
Yeah, and I must say it was a lovely event, and I was really privileged to have been invited by you. It was honestly,
and shortlisted.
Yeah, but never mind that. But honestly, it was really, really nice.
Good.
Emma, honestly.
Good.
Now, one of the other things, I think this is the first time that we've ever done a podcast in an art gallery. So I'd really like to thank you for all of that. Now, personally, I'm a big favourite of Gustav Klemt's, and I understand you've got a couple of pieces there.
There we go. Here we go. This is the conversation about the naked people in my kitchen, everybody. So I think Chris wants to see my Gustav Klimt, which is over here. Reproduction, I hasten to add.
Yeah.
And it's more about the pre-Raphaelite over here, I think, that he's also talking about. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that, Chris.
No, that's a pleasure. And you've also got something very unique, which you showed us just before we came on air.
Oh, okay. That's this one.
Yeah.
It's Picasso's autograph, everybody. A courtesy of my great-grandma, who was a big fan of writing to people and asking for their autographs. This is the envelope she sent to Picasso for him to send it back. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of art.
And fair play to her for doing that. And I feel really guilty now because I think I returned one of her letters. No,
Noi.
brilliant. No, well done you. Now listen, what I want to ask you, okay, so obviously you also are passionate about the way people communicate and the impacts and
Yes.
the benefit of communication.
Yes.
All right. So now when you get your clients, and obviously we're not being negative about any clients, but anybody who's able to give a specialized service means that people need that specialized service. So
Yes.
it's just a fact. But what do you find is the most common, so we say, misunderstandings or poor tactical strategy that that clients want to have when they're communicating, that you then have to either calm down, redirect, restructure, or refocus? Because I can imagine, and through the podcast, myself and Salem, we sometimes say afterwards, God, they're so passionate and so engaged, everything. But sometimes it's a bit like a tsunami.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I told you earlier that my origins are journalism. I'm also the daughter of a foreign correspondent, so it's in my blood. So I'm passionate about helping companies communicate genuine content.
Yeah,
So there's a big difference between marketing, which is an art and a science in its own right and necessary for sales, and public relations or that kind of corporate communication. You talked about strategy, and in fact, PR is very strategic. So it starts with a conversation with the customer about their business objectives. Once we have that, we can think about communication objectives, audience, and then we start to communicate. So there has to be a reason behind every piece of communication, and
yeah,
that reason has to be to support part of your strategy as a business. So it's the most common thing that we get is a misunderstanding, I guess, between marketing and PR.
yeah,
So you will do your company good, you will raise your brand awareness, you will tell your story very well by providing expert content, which you already have, because if you're not an expert, not great at what you do, you don't have a business. You will not do that in the PR world and the communication world if you stand up and sell as you would in a marketing way.
yeah,
And that is the biggest challenge. But I have to say, and we work with people we love working with, and I love working with our customers. And some of them get it initially because of the background they have. Some of them are smaller, it takes a while. But once they're on board and they get it, they're so full of enthusiasm and great, really useful information that it's a joy to share that. But I understand what you're saying, because initially, often people just want to give up about the company. What we're talking about is context, useful content, all of that side of things.
yeah,
And it's a joy actually to take somebody on their journey.
yeah. It is, and I agree with you. And there's a few things I've been involved in as well. When you see people aligned with a storyline, and then obviously it's like a strategy, but then within the strategy and like a storyline, it doesn't always start with once upon a time and then
No,
ends with they lived happily ever after.
no.
You've got the Wicked Witch and the Dark Prince, and
Yeah,
you've got the
yeah.
storms, and you've got the roadblocks, and you've got all those things. So the way they tactically show agility within that strategy, that's what's so exciting, isn't it? It's really nice to see, isn't it?
And also, I find the other thing, sometimes they are hindered by themselves because they're so ready or fast to want to talk about we're the best this, we're the best that. They forget to tell us about
What they do.
things that make them unique or situations where they've really helped. And it's kind of a learning journey, a journey we're all on, to talk to them all of the time to find out what they've been doing actually that backs up what they're saying about being the greatest at what they're doing.
Exactly. No, brilliant. And another support activity I know you do is also being involved in workshops and directing workshops. And that again has got a strategic and storyline aim to it, which sometimes when people are involved in work, they don't see it at the beginning.
No, I agree. And I'm always telling my customers it's about content, but like useful content. If you have a piece of information that is useful or difficult to get to otherwise, or expensive for no reason to get to otherwise, that's what we need to focus on. If they choose to buy your services afterwards because they felt comfortable or they get it, that's the purpose. You know, marketing is another skill, and I'm not suggesting it's not an art in its own right. It's not an art I have, but it's
Yeah.
a different thing.
No, no, no. I know what you mean, and it's also good. It's also good to know, all the different positions in the team that supports businesses and companies.
Of
So,
course.
and it's if you're a goalkeeper, you're a goalkeeper. You know how to kick a ball, but you're not as good at scoring as a centre forward. And
Chris, as you know, you're talking to a Charlton Athletic season ticket holder, so I really can't talk about football right
you see, I was going to say,
now. It's not a conversation I can have right now.
how did you get to Charlton?
Well, Greenwich, isn't it?
Well, yeah. But that was it. Just because it was the
No, because when the kids were growing up, I have to say, as a local team, they're fantastically engaged, really brilliantly engaged. And my boy convinced me that actually football might be quite cool. And so I go with him. And it's that lovely thing where we have something we can do
yeah, nice,
together.
nice one. I was just trying to think if I can remember some because they were in the Premiership, weren't they once?
Yeah, no, I literally said we're not talking about this right now. No, you were going over it.
No, 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 that's all right. No problem. No problem with that. Right, while we've got the team concept, okay, because what you also do is you've got a broad spectrum of customers from shippers, forwarders, airlines, airports, and GHAs. So imagine if that was a team sport and it was a relay race. Do you think they'd win anything as a relay team?
Well, we also have shipping lines
Yeah, yeah,
and ports and things like that. Yeah, I do. But I think it's an interesting question because as an industry, and we're unusual in the sense that we do everything from tech to maritime, air cargo, etc. So we have an overview of everything. And I think that as an industry, as in supply chain industry, very poor at communicating and learning from each other. So
yes,
I think if they were everybody was able to get into a room together and actually talk and share experiences, better off.
yeah,
Otherwise, you end up pretty much with an air freight silo, a maritime silo, tech silo, and it's sometimes surprising. We come across something and we go, guys, have you not talked to these people? And we don't even know they exist. And
yeah,
it's about connections. And I think really 2024, post everything we went through in the pandemic, post everything, it's about time people learn to get together and really talk and really learn and be transparent. I know that's a buzzword, but literally not be afraid of sharing. If you look at this tech space, it's becoming more and more obvious that open source is the way forward. And
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I actually think, Apple beware. I know you've been very clever and made lots of money, but let's see. But open source, they've got it, right? They've got the idea that there are some things that you need to share and be transparent about to make all of us better, including the people who are sharing, being transparent.
Yeah.
And I still think that although it's a buzzword, people talk about it, I still think there is that hesitancy. And really, that's got to change. And by the way, by communicating, that's one way we change it. I really believe that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the reason I used it as like a relay team is if it's as if one person would throw the baton to the
Yes.
next one, another one would leave it on the ground and expect them to pick it up, another one would hide it and say, "Well, you come and get it," and
Yeah.
it's all that goes on, and there's no need for it.
No, no, not especially not now. Come
No,
on,
we've
you
got
know.
to grow the cake, worry about the slices afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. Well, on that note, I can remember my mum, if we had to divide a cake between me and my brother, she'd make one of us cut the cake, the other one chooses the piece. And boy, were you careful when you cut
When
that
you
cake.
cut it, yeah, 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 no, good one. Yeah, I must remember that one. Now, the other thing is, we just mentioned workshops briefly, but from your perspective now, what makes a good workshop effective?
And mix of expertise that genuinely has something to share. So people need to be able to come away from that with a learning or a connection. That doesn't mean to say you do it and nobody in that group will buy from you or whatever. But it has to be that everybody's time is well served and you come away with something tangible. And I go back to my earlier point, often people don't know what they know even.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to be very careful when you're setting up something like that. You have to say your purpose of being there is to explain this bit.
Yeah.
And they surprise themselves with what they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what makes it important, I think.
Yeah. No, it's how you dig it and mine it. And they say if you dig deep enough, you'll always find something of value.
Right, and but also tangible. It has to be a useful outcome. It's about content.
Yeah. 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 I notice you come back to genuine content.
Yeah.
Content. Yep. Yep. No, I agree with that. Agree with that. Now, you also get involved in transformation. What types of transformation do you think now the industry and the business needs to go through?
I think the industry is already doing it, but they don't recognize it. And some of them are a bit afraid of talking about it. I'm
Yeah.
going to give the example of sustainability,
Yeah.
where we talk to lots of companies who are already doing something quite brilliant in that sphere. And by sustainability, I mean people, planet, profit. Don't just mean planting trees, although obviously that's a great idea. But if we go down that bit, people are frightened of being told they're greenwashing.
Yeah.
Whereas the fact is they should be talking about anything and everything they're doing, because if you're on a journey, you should be sharing it, partly to share it, partly to get other people to help you go down that route. So in terms of transformation, I think we should be better at celebrating the things that we are already doing, not
Yeah.
be frightened about talking about them. And then it's about transparency. Again, please, can we share all of these initiatives? You know, we have a massive problem in PR, my company, companies that we deal with encouraging next gen to join and stay.
Yeah.
It's a common problem. So why do we hide behind a bushel as an industry? Why don't we talk about our industry more, our successes, the amazing innovation? Why we briefly shone, didn't we, under the pandemic, because people couldn't wipe their bums because they no loo rolls, suddenly they could. Yeah, why have
Yeah.
we let that go to the side? We should be encouraging these people to join and celebrating that and pushing them forward. It's very easy to get into their cycle, isn't it? Like we're rubbish, or we don't do this, or environmental planes are a disaster. Look at all the things that we do that are brilliant, actually. Talk about them more and then just get together and make it work. That's the transformation. There's a digital side to it, but that's well on its way. And I understand some people still reluctant to either understand or invest in digital, but kind of that's an old argument. That transformation, you do it or you're
Yeah.
gone. It's
Yeah.
already happening.
Yeah.
After that, it's up to you to educate yourself and team up with a partner that can help you do that. The time of talking about digital transformation is gone. It's
Yeah.
happened. It's more, to me, it's more about that transparency and that getting the next people on board who have much better ideas and
Yeah.
fresher ideas than we do. Please join.
Yeah. No, good on you. And you mentioned your 3 Ps there, which I'd love to touch on, because I also use 3 Ps, but in a different order. And so yours is people, planet, profit,
Yeah.
and mine is people, profit, planet. And we're not too far away, but my perception is so many people want and expect so much. And like you said about the greenwashing, and I've often said to people, and especially like when they're on an aircraft, if they seen the aircraft painted green and every piece of equipment that came to the aircraft green, including people in green uniforms, I'm pretty sure most people would think that that was a green supporting company.
Yeah.
The amount of eyewash that goes into what everybody's talking about is
Yeah.
crazy. And I think the education and the awareness is necessary, because if organisations aren't making a profit, there's not going to be much investment going
Of
into
course.
the area. And what I keep telling people is stop demanding certain things that are actually not going to help the company produce profits, but do it in a certain way so that a percentage of all that profit should then be redirected into that particular area.
Absolutely. It's a holistic thing. It's not one with it without the other, or these
Exactly.
things are all connected. And obviously, I totally understand what you say. The number of times I say to some of my young people, they're not operating a charity, it's a company.
Yes.
Without that company, these people don't have a job. And on
Yeah.
we go. So no, it's not about that. It's the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
But it's also about the fact that actually most companies do a lot, and they don't want to talk about it because they're worried they're going to be
Yeah.
greenwashed. For me, if as a company you even put, I don't know, an anti-slavery policy on your website, okay, if that's the only thing you do and you're going to stop there, that's not good. But if you have done it, it's a start.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it means you're on a journey. You've
Yeah. Yeah.
started that journey. So someone should be saying, well done you. You're on a journey. What next?
Yeah.
Not, you've only done that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree, and that's where I think better and more sensible education and awareness is needed, because like with so many things that you get now, through social media, it's misguided, and there's things happening, and there's words being used that they mislead to a point, and if people are a little bit gullible, then it's even worse. And I'll just give it.
We're back to genuine, tangible, good content.
Yes. Hey, what a segue. What a segue. And I'm also going to be looking for a Gustav Klem's picture for my kitchen. No, but it's good turnaround. But I'd love to talk to you about loads of other things, Emma, because like I said, your enthusiasm, your passion, and what I would say your simplicity in messaging is excellent, and which is obviously what you
Thank
do
you.
what you do well. So, I wish you well. I look forward to seeing you again. And like I said at the beginning, I was so impressed. I was watching you for a couple of hours every time there was a break, and every time you were there and who you were with and everything. And your work ethic is fantastic.
Thank you. It's important too.
All the success you have, you deserve. And
Thank
I
you.
look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you
Thanks,
so much
Chris.
for letting us have I know normally people have to pay to get into the gallery, but
Oh,
thank you for letting us have a
there
snapshot.
you go. Next time I'll show you the rest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right, lovely. Thank you so much.
See you later then.